Hi, it's Ralph and Lonnie, and we're back with a forecast for December 2025. And I know we shift things around every once in a while. The universe kind of prods us in certain directions, and we try to listen to everybody and be all things to everybody. But for reasons beyond our control, we're going back to the month forecast.
Yes, because we want to give you kind of an overview for the month, and we want to give you give you the big picture.
And many of you say that you don't make it back every week to update. So we're trying to help.
Yeah, while staying true to the calendar, the planetary astrology calendar. So this month is interesting. December is very interesting because Jupiter normally is kind of in control during, December, because so much of the month is spent with the sun in Sagittarius, which is the social career sign of Jupiter. It's, dynamic, it's gregarious, it's generous, it's optimistic, it loves to travel, it loves foreign languages, it loves being, going shopping and then giving gifts to their friends. So when you're looking at this month, realize it's going to be an optimistic month. And what's nice about it too is that this year especially, Jupiter really is in command, because Jupiter is in the sign of the crab, we call Cancer. And that's what's called its exalted sign. Meanwhile, the other big player, in our visible life in the social world is Saturn, right? Saturn is structure, where Jupiter is expansion. And Saturn's in the sign of Pisces. Well, Pisces, the dolphins, that's the feminine sign of Jupiter. So now you have Jupiter and Saturn both in these signs that are part of the triangle of social Jupiter already. So it's very powerful, the crab, the dolphins, and the centaur, or the mounted horse, and the archer.
And don't forget that Neptune has dipped back into
Right.
Pisces,
Into
as well.
So this month there will be a certain optimism, I think, this month that people feel, which is good because this has been such a crazy year. But I think there's going to be a certain sense of optimism, a certain sense of maybe making progress. It's juggled a little bit because you have some of the outer planets are retrograde and some of the outer planets are direct. So out there in the social world, you see like it's parts of it are moving forward and other parts are a little stalled. But in the course of the month, Neptune's going to go direct in, as Lonnie said, Pisces, the dolphins. So we're going to feel like at one more level, like where the energy is. Neptune has a lot to do with energy that, that's starting to move forward too. Okay? And we know that we can feel that we're on a line. Don't you think we feel like we're on a line between the old model and the new model? And as we go through this month, we're going to feel like there's a certain optimism that maybe this new model is going to help heal a lot of issues that we have been suffering with in the past. So I think it's going to be a very nice month. And even when when the sun goes into Capricorn, on just before Christmas, still stays pretty positive because of the fact that Saturn is in sign of the dolphins, which is also, Pisces is considered a sign of compassion,
Right.
of divine love,
Right. Empathy.
Even the symbolism works that way. That it was when the dolphins were carrying Aphrodite, which is the symbol of ascendant love, which we need. We definitely need more love this time of year when we're with other people. And all the planets that change sign, Neptune changes direction, but the other planets that change sign, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, they're all personal planets. So all the stuff that's happening it's all personal stuff. People are going to be very good at focusing on that. And even the full moon is going to be in Gemini, Sagittarius, which are very much personal energies. And even the new moon takes place, I think, at 29 or 28 degrees Sagittarius. So both those big lunations take place in these people signs, what are called the mutable signs.
Well, and I love when Mercury is in Sagittarius over the holidays because it just adds a little fun to everything. Because Mercury is the trickster and Sagittarius is the punster.
Yes.
And, it's just looking for a joke to tell or fun, activities. So Mercury is going to enter Sagittarius on the 11th. And then Mars is going into Capricorn, which is a strong sign for
Very strong. Yes.
Capricorn. That's going to happen on the 14th, coincidentally with the Geminid meteor showers on the 13th and the 14th. So, but Mars in Capricorn, if you didn't overspend on Cyber Monday during the long void of course,
Yes.
Mars in Capricorn is going to try to help you rearrange your budget a little bit so that you can kind of put the brakes on that,
Exactly.
So, and then Venus enters Capricorn on Christmas Eve, which I like Venus in Capricorn.
It's lovely. It's serious. It's if you buy people things that look a little formal or a little more classic, it's kind of classic clothes.
It is classic. Yeah, classic gifts can be the theme for this year. And that helps you to get back to maybe a safer or more relaxed time in your life when you have these kinds of Capricornian energies in both your physical and your emotional kind of nature. And I'm tickled that we were able to give y'all a white circle for Christmas Day.
Yes.
And
Enjoy.
Kwanzaa, the day after, is a super social day with all those aspects above the number. And that lovely sort of grateful, graceful, empathetic moon in Pisces for that time. So it bodes well for the holidays.
It really does. Look at that. Isn't that nice?
That's not to say we don't have some bumps in the road, and I'll let Ralph talk a little bit more about the full moon, but that happens on the 4th.
Yeah, and even that one's not a big pressure. It's kind of full moons can be very pressurized, especially if they land like right on your sun, and this one's landing at 13 degrees Gemini Sagittarius. So wherever that is in your chart, this would mean you're born about the middle of Sagittarius. We know people who are born right around there.
Yes, we do.
Related to us. That, they'll really feel this personally. But this one's kind of interesting because the moon's making a nice aspect to Venus, and at the same time, it's not making aspects to a lot else.
It's an opposition.
Oh, well, it's making, okay.
It's making contact with Venus. Venus and Mercury are friends. Exactly. The moon are friends.
Exactly. So, it may be the day in which someone says to you, are you really going out in those clothes? Is that really the outfit you meant to buy?
Is that the look you're going for?
Right. It could be something like that. You need friends like that, don't you? You need friends who give you a little reality check. But there's not a lot of other planets connected to it at that time. And what that means is that you're not going to feel like overwhelmed with your world. It will seem like the path forward is a little more clear. I don't have a lot of distractions. When you have these full moons there's a lot of connections. It's like, geez, the noise you're dealing with is just crazy. This one's going to be a little quieter.
If there is such a term as an easy full moon, it applies to this one.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have to look forward to St. Nicholas Day in the 6th with a wonderful white circle. And the reason the white circle is there is because Mercury is trine Jupiter. And those two are the communicators, and they add that level of funster and optimism, and this seems to be a white circle that is mainly focused on family. Right. It's also occurring on a weekend, again, a family kind of thing. The Cancer moon,
right,
adds to that very well. So that's a lovely white circle day.
Both the 6th and the 7th are lovely. Look at the 7th. There's that whole lineup of planets above the 7th, above the number means that are connected to the moon, starting with the conjunction to Jupiter. So Jupiter in its exalted, what we like to call it the colleague position, is conjunct in the moon in her strongest sign, her strongest social sign, right? Of the person who creates the sense of home, and that's just lovely. It's going to be a lovely weekend. Well,
and when you look at it, even those aspects to the moon, even the outer planets are behaving.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. They've been acting up a little bit. That's why we have all this global chaos stuff going on around us. But
and in fact, on that Sunday, look at that Mercury trine the Saturn.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a great day to crawl the grandparents and like
That's
suck up to them a
right.
little bit?
That's right. We expect our phone to be ringing all day.
In preparations for like gift giving, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Grandma, what I would really like to have is.
And just to mention, the voids, of course, throughout the whole month, except for that aforementioned Cyber Monday, is a horrible void, of course, where you're not watching your wallet. But the other voids are pretty reasonable. They're either overnight or late in the day. And so they're all pretty short. So I don't think we have to worry about suffering from void of course syndrome after we get past the first.
So you're getting a sense here that it's kind of a very focused month. You're not going to be overly distracted by stuff out there in the outer world. It may be a little bit of a logjam, but it's just going to be an overall sense that things are starting to move forward.
I think you want to watch out for the 20th. That's for the day after the new moon. The new moon is on the 19th, and that happens at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. So, that's new beginnings, a new start. Yeah. But you might stub your toe as you begin to start because there is a black box the next day.
Exactly.
So.
And then as you get moving through the month, pardon me, I'm sorry. But as you're moving through the month, remember, we're moving towards the winter solstice. Okay. So we're moving towards the darkest days of the year. Be very conscious of that, because realize, even though we have electric lighting, we're affected by the sun's presence right through the walls. We talk about this in our feng shui work all the time. If you look at your chart and you can figure out where the sun was when you were born, like if you were born like at 4 a.m, which is where more people are born around 4 a.m. than any other time, the sun was like due east from you. Well, as a result, when you face due east in any situation, you're facing towards an area that was activated in your aura by the sun when you were born. As soon as you were outside your mom's aura, your field was programmed that way. So throughout the rest of your life, when you face east, you will feel more energized. When you face opposite that direction, so now your receptors are facing the wrong way, you will feel less strong, less energized. So realize that this programming happens all the time. So when we get to this time of the year, and just so everyone's thinking, what about the other times of the day, right?
I'm born at high noon, and I want to tell you about high noon a little bit. If you're born around, between 10 and 1 or 10 and 2, it seems like you can never do anything without the whole world knowing about it. Right. There's no secrets from the world because you're under that bright light of day. Yes. So that's one of the things that happens with that noontime births. But of course, if you're born with the sun below the horizon, then your moon becomes stronger in your chart than it would be if you were born with the sun above the horizon, because the ruler of the day and the ruler of the night. So if you're the kind of person who read a sun sign column and said, I'm born in Sagittarius, but when I read Aquarius, it seems to hit better for me. Well, maybe you have an Aquarius moon, and that will explain that, because that's a stronger light in your chart. Just a little aside.
Exactly. And to give you an idea, if you were born like at sunrise, like 6, 7 in the morning, then the sun was to the southeast. If you were born like Lonnie right at noontime, then the sun was to the south, directly to the south. If you were born about sunset, then the sun was to the southwest. If you were born about 8 in the evening, then the sun was to the west. And then you follow that same angle around the other way. This is a very helpful thing to do, because if, let's say, you work in a creative field or any kind of field and you need to set your workshop up, you can actually face your desk in different areas. And if you're a dowser and you use a pendulum, you can test to see which are your best directions. So even though you're not you're able to use electric light, as the sun gets lower this time of year, realize your energy is going down.
Right.
Compensate for that. Allow yourself a little more time to sleep. Allow yourself a little more time to rest. Allow yourself a little more time to kind of, restore your energy. Don't try to accomplish that much. One of the reasons why we have the holidays this time of year is because it takes us away from all these things that we were trying to accomplish. It takes us away from the stuff we have to get done to these things that it would be great if we got it done.
And in other times, there was less to be done at this time of year. That may not hold true for you and whatever you do for a living in this modern age, but that's what the nature is supposed to do. We've been trying to exert whatever influence we can and enlist everybody in the process of not changing the clocks for daylight savings time, because it's much healthier and it's much easier for people to adjust to these changes that are highlighted by this winter solstice. So
this is a line from the forecast. On the 21st, this is the day in which at the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the sun moves into Capricorn, joining Mars. The sun in Capricorn is a deeply personal position, but the Mars in Capricorn is very social, so be prepared to stay true to yourself while showing up for everyone else. Capricorn, begin counting down to your solar return. Always good advice. And then, of course, on Christmas Eve, as Lonnie mentions, Venus enters Capricorn and will be there until mid-January. This is a good time to celebrate our ancestors, especially the grandmothers. Remember, it's a feminine sign. The position symbolizes the grandmother who passes on the rules and history of the family and takes pride in seeing her children and grandchildren make their way in the world. So, maybe an especially nice gift for the grandmothers this year, don't you think? I think that's, perfectly appropriate.
And there's plenty of grandfathers that mother their grands
That's
as
true.
well.
That's
so,
true. Yes.
It is one for, honoring the generation above.
Yes. Now, I'd like to just can we take a little peek at 2027, 26?
Sure.
Oh, good. Because I had to make sure we're going to take 2026 because we're at the point where we're just about to start working on 2027 calendar. And we're doing some reformatting and things.
Let me just say quickly, New Year's Eve, don't stay home. Go out, do something, make friends.
Yes.
It's got a Gemini moon. It's got a very social activity going on there, and bring in a new year, because the best way to make sure that the new year is different is to do something different than you've done before.
And if you're not someone that likes going out at night, go out to lunch.
There you go. Lunch always works for me.
Oh, yes. We love going out to lunch. It's like a favorite activity of ours. We live in the food capital of California. So,
we do. We do.
Going out to lunch is definitely entertaining. Here's a peek at 2026. If you have the day planner, it's right there on page 210. Okay. The new moon on February 17th begins the year of the fire horse. And these fire horse years the horse years, generally speaking, are very social. Fire horses basically mean they're very Jupiterian, they're very Jovian, they're very outward going. Exuberant. Very, very good.
Right.
Okay. Always a lively time, and this is looking like an especially exciting year. The attention of the world shifts away from the United States and towards Europe.
That's been a little bit of a trend.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Especially towards France and England, Ireland, Spain, and Portugal may be the center of disruptive global youth movement focused on human rights and climate change.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm saying we both
interesting. You wrote this,
Yeah,
darling.
I know, but like a year and a half ago. I forgot it
He's
all.
always surprised when a year and a half later that happens, and he says, look at that. I'm like, well, you are the one who wrote that.
In 2026, Italy is looking at a financially good year, although expect to see a very active women's rights movement there. Of course, they have a woman prime minister now. The wars in Ukraine and Gaza will be especially harsh, but the global community will be actively enforcing rules and limits on the conflicts. There will be so the fact that there was recently agreements may not hold because those areas are still under tremendous pressure astronomically. There will be a shared sense that the ego-centered patriarchy that is directing these onslaughts is poisoning the spiritual health of the planet and damaging global economies. And global economies, people feel real serious about that. Japan and Australia will both see expansions that benefit their local economies, and we're already seeing that because of the whole tariff war. And this was written before the tariffs. The U.S. East Coast will see an enthusiastic emergence of a new community of younger political leaders.
We're seeing that
Yes.
as well. There's a lot of new young faces that are rising up in politics and in government.
And willing to make broad changes. Expect women's rights to be a clarion call. The West will be generally more peaceful, with the Southwest having good economic progress by returning to previous international partnerships, especially with Japan, Australia, and the Pacific Rim. Just so you understand, we look at all the charts around the world, and we look at the astrocartography and really kind of track where the lines are going. We base this all pretty much on the Chinese New Year chart, which is new moon in Aquarius, and then we project out through major turning points during the year. Let's see.
Make sure you come back to
Yes.
YouTube to check out our forecasts when we put them up. They may not be included in the monthly email reminder.
Exactly. And by the way, if we get all of this correct, we would like some nice emails saying, "Hey, you were right." That would be really nice. Just asking. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly.
Of course, if it's wrong, you could just
No, we always love to hear from you.
I guess, okay, they don't have to keep it to themselves. Let's see. The Bay Area will be the site of activism related to family and children's issues. The center of the country will see both climate and electrical utility issues, and possibly a disruptive political shift as young people stood up. Ooh, this is interesting. Once Uranus moves into Gemini in the last week of April, Jupiter will be the only planet beyond Mars that will change signs during the year. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Jeez. Because, these outer planets designate a big shift, so you kind of feel that maybe a lot of the stuff that's going to happen is going to happen earlier in the year. Jupiter will go from Cancer to Crab to Leo by July 1st, so expect a year that sets its direction early and stays on course. The old paradigms are quickly falling away in favor of new ideas and innovative actions. Jeez.
New ideas. Is that like when you wake up in the morning and you say, Lonnie, I have an idea. And I say, another one?
Another one, yes. It's part of the story of our lives. So.
Well, he's a true Mercury man.
So.
Well, I hope you enjoy that little peek ahead at the new year. We will do a full New Year forecast, both for the calendar year and for the Chinese New Year. And some of you know why we picked the Chinese New Year, because it's a more logical starting point for a year. The calendar year is an arbitrary point. Exactly. But that is a physiological point where the energy is most withdrawn into the earth. So it has only one way to go to bloom. So
exactly. And it's the time of year when, among other things, Ralph will balance an egg on end and take photos of it and send it out to all of his friends.
His little parlor trick.
Because all the energy pulls back into the earth and everything really grounds right at the Chinese New Year. And it's remarkable how well it works. I've been doing this for years. So, in terms of what you should be looking at for this month, lighten up. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. If you're getting too bothered by the news, don't watch the news. It's the stuff up close and personal that's going to really matter. It's going to be your personal relationships where you actually have a sense that you can make positive changes. So much stuff in Sagittarius, so much stuff in Capricorn. These are planets that have a lot to do with our social. These are signs that have a lot to do with our social responsibilities. Are we generous to others? Are we responsible with others? Do we take our responsibilities seriously? Are we kind? Are we generous in our giving? This is and do we recognize that we are part of a larger community?
Right.
Yes.
what the world needs now is more empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then empathy is one thing, but action is another. So, this is a good month to, I referred to November. I think we did in the forecast as well, but I did in my mini forecast as a bit of a roller coaster. That ride hopefully kind of prepared you for this glide afterwards. And it's not inaction. It's just, okay, I kind of weathered the bumps and I figured some things out. And now we have a bit of more leisurely way to sort of enact these changes that we want to see in our life and see in the world.
It's interesting. Just in the last few days, give you an idea of when we're recording this. We tried to record it fairly close to the month, but in the last few days, they had the votes in the Congress and the Senate where they, approved, releasing all these documents. What was very interesting is it took place at the new moon in Scorpio with Venus in Scorpio. There's a whole group of planets all in the same sign. And now we keep saying the true symbol for this is the eagle. It's the symbol of because it was the time of the year when the women would go out with the hawks and the eagles and they would hunt. It's the symbol of feminine power. And here, this entire thing happened because women unified strategically and moved it forward, even to the extent that the people from the party that had been trying to block this so long were, very much pressured to take a stand, but they decided to stand with other women instead of with their party. It's the sign of women, feminine power. It's the sign of strategy. If you're a falconer or if you're hunting with eagles, you have to have this tremendous sense of, geometry, of where to position yourself to have the sight lines and such. It's very, very strategic. It's one of the reasons why so many famous politicians are born that time of the year, because they're strategic in their thinking. So I think that's kind of interesting. But when we get to this month, everything has moved in December. Everything's moved into these lovely Jupiterian signs. Like I said, there's going to be a great sense of kind of the weight falling off, I think, and people feeling more optimistic, more hopeful.
And isn't that a nice way to enter a new year?
Exactly. So we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Yes. So remember, you can find the calendar at planetarycalendar.com. We're sending out we're sending a lot of calendar. I'm at the post office every day now.
I think we may run out of the wall calendars, but we will never run out of the pockets and the day planners because we have them print on demand. But
right, exactly.
You can have a delay if we have to reprint. So get your calendar orders in.
Yes.
And, see us at planetarycalendar.com. And if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do, because if you miss a monthly reminder from us, you'll get a reminder from YouTube on the in between the month.
Yes.
If we post anything new, and it really helps us to understand how much time we can allocate to this, because your support means everything to us. So we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and then hit the notification bell.
Right. And then meanwhile, have a happy new year and welcome to 2026.
Yeah. Soon.
Enjoy and be well.